In this video, we're going to be showing you where we like to use cleanouts and proper placements of them, so stay tuned, let's jump into this video.
Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name's Clayton.
And I'm Karsten.
On this channel, we're striving to save you money and keep you informed on all the proper plumbing practices. Let's get into this video. All right everyone, let's get started here. We're going to start with a basic cleanout here. This cleanout is going to be right here, one right here next to Karsten. And this would be your standard basin sink, your pedestal, just a bathroom sink. So what you'd have is you'd have your vent coming down, you'd have your trap arm coming up to the sink. This water would be draining from the sink down through here, and it would pass through this cleanout. And usually at the heel of the drain here, you'll run from vertical to horizontal. And you'll run this to whatever location where it needs to go, usually to a toilet, if it's wet venting a toilet, or kind of wherever it's going. So ideally for this situation here, you would want to put your clean out right below the trap arm, which would be just right here. If you don't have access, or for some reason you can't put a clean out there, you could always put a clean out on the heel of the stack right there as well. And that would be able to access, and you'd be able to run your snake through here and clean this as well. Usually what you want it as high as here as possible, because you know the solids and everything from the drain are going to get backed up, usually from this trap arm down to here. So the higher you can get this clean out, usually the better it's going to be. But as long as it's anywhere around just, you know, below this trap arm here, you should be fine.
And I think in a lot of cases, especially residential, which we mostly do, so we're going to just strictly talk about resi. Especially from where we're from, they always tend to cover these up. You know, in certain cities, I think Edmonton, they have to be exposed. In Calgary, where we're from, and maybe let us know where you're from and if they have to be exposed or not, but they don't have to be exposed, so a lot of times you don't even know where they are. Usually when a guy comes in to do a drain clean, they're probably just disconnecting the trap and cleaning through the trap. But if for whatever reason they can't get all the way down here, like if it's a long ways away, knowing that there's a clean out there, you pretty much always know there's going to be one there. So if you have to open up the cabinet or the wall, there's probably clean out there for the most part in most situations. And like you said, higher the better, because sometimes, you know, if this is the floor and then you have like a 6-inch baseboard here or something crazy like that, then this clean out being up here is better. And if you can get access to this, like, you know, ideally you can leave access to your clean outs for future purposes, but not all builders or homeowners want to see that stuff. So
Well, and the other reason why too you'd want to have your clean out here is if you do got to get a little power snake in there, it's a lot easier just to place your power snake inside of the cabinet, and you just take your clean out off and then just run your snake through the clean out. So
that's why sometimes it's nicer when the drain comes up in the actual like in the cabinet itself, and then you can put the clean out right in the cabinet. It's much nicer for the guy coming to drain clean than when it's in the wall. It looks cleaner when it's in the wall. It's nicer for everybody else except for the guy that's cleaning the drain.
What's more important?
Service is very important
for sure. And it'll save you a lot of money too down the road if you don't have access to a clean out and you got to cut out the back of your cabinet to access a clean out, or even to cut the pipe open to run a snake through if you can't run your snake through the 1.5-inch drain here through this P-trap.
So a lot of times, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, and two, if you run into situations where there isn't a clean out underneath here, you can always either cut the trap arm off here, get rid of this P-trap, and then just run your snake through there as well. Usually this will be 1.5 inches. Sometimes it'll be 1.25 inches. If it's 1.25 inches, it's going to be a little tougher to get like a 1/4-inch snake through there and a cable, to clean it out probably. But if it's 1.5 inches, a 1/4-inch cable will fit nicely through 1.5 inches, and that will also somewhat service a 2-inch drain as well. So it won't be, it's not the end of the world if you don't have a clean out, but it's definitely helps a lot. If
you're doing new installation or a reno or whatever, most of this stuff is just kind of common practice. Depends on where you're from, certain codes, and if you are doing new construction, you're getting permits done, you're going to want to call your local jurisdiction, like your inspector. Like for us, even if we have questions, I still do it to this day, where I call 311, ask to talk to a city inspector, and if I have a question, they'll answer for you. They're happy to talk to you. As long as you kind of know what you're talking about. If you don't, they'll still help you. They want you to pass. They want you to do the right thing. So if you don't know, your best thing to do is like take what we have here and call your city inspector. But a lot of times, mostly common practice, like not necessarily you need to have it, but every time that we kind of go through a floor, like say this is a floor you're going down, I always like to have a clean out above the floor if I can, or down below, especially if you're going from vertical to horizontal. It's nice to have them. You won't necessarily have to have them, but the more clean outs the better for sure.
So we've covered a lot there, which is going to transfer to the next different.
But even just this one,
Yeah, even
we
this
didn't
one
really
here.
talk about that.
So we're definitely going to move on to this one here. So this one here, can you? I would like everybody to leave a comment if they know what this drawing here is. So I'm not going to say it yet. Leave a comment if you do know. Okay. So this here is a urinal. And the reason why I know it's a urinal is because the clean out is above the trap arm. And the reason why you want to have your clean out above the trap arm on a urinal and you don't have it below here like a sink is because in a urinal it will start backing up right from here, and it will start, all this here will be backed up with nasty stuff from urine. It's really bad. So being able to clean this line here from a clean out above the urinal. So now we're going to say this drain here, ideally you want to run your urinals in 2-inch. So this would be 2-inch coming through, 1.5 inches. You'd carry this 2-inch.
Some urinals
all the way
are
up.
actually 2-inch.
Some urinals are 2-inch.
Some are 2-inch. So
Yep.
you're better off knowing what your specs are, because if you can have a full 2-inch all the way to the urinal, that's money.
That's even better. Yeah.
Because then you're not using it at bushing on the urinal or whatever, and you have the full 2-inch all the way there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you want to run your 2-inch all the way up to your clean out, so that your 2-inch clean out here can access and clean this whole line. So that's the reason why. And you'll find too, like I've cleaned out a bunch of urinals, and when they back up, everything is backed up. The whole
It's thick.
It's gross. You almost gotta, like, usually right from around here, it's so hard you gotta almost chisel it out. It's disgusting. So that's why, for a urinal purpose, you want to make sure you definitely have this clean out above the urinal.
And accessible, and most people don't put urinals in their houses, but people that do, we kind of just wanted to talk about this one because it's pretty important, but it is more commercial based. But if you can get that clean out up top, and if you're in residential, people I feel like still just put them down low because it's just what they do.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right about that. I want to talk about another scenario where you're going to have a clean out above your trap arm. So sometimes you're doing, like, let's say a laundry, and you're doing a laundry box like this, and then this TY is at a certain height, and this 90's here, and you need to have another trap arm here for a sink, so you can technically wet vent this. And if you want to kind of learn more about wet venting, we'll have a link to a wet venting video. But sometimes you won't be able to get the clean out down below, and you'll have to just put it up above, and that's okay too. So you can come down 2-inch P-trap, 2 inches still going here. This is now your wet vented portion, and then you have an 1.5 inch trap arm for like a sink or whatever it is. And then this is going to be, you're going to have to do 2-inch up to here with a 2-inch clean out to be able to clean this, because clean outs have to stay the same size. So you can't clean a 2-inch drain with an 1.5 inch clean out. It has to be 2-inch. And then so then you can go, if this was a vent up above and you're just going straight venting, you can just put a 2x1.5 bushing in there and then go 1.5 inch vent above that.
Yeah.
All right, so in this scenario here, this is a vertical stack coming down to horizontal. You don't always necessarily need them. For us, it's just a very common practice. If this is a floor here, I kind of got into it over here a little bit, but I personally, when I come through a floor, before I turn, I always like to put the clean out up above the floor, and then I can just use 245s here. Like where we're from in Calgary, we're not allowed to use a 90. Some people are allowed, I know, can use long sweep 90s. Some people can get away with just 90s. I know when my brother was working in Ontario, they just used 90s on everything.
That's crazy.
But yeah, 245s, it kind of makes it a bit longer of a sweep. And really, if you want to get into a really good common practice, use 2 hub 45s and cut a longer piece so that the stuff can actually flow through easier. Because if it's just a tight 90, it's usually where it'll kind of bunch up is at the base of it.
Yeah.
So then the water, yeah. So anyways, you can also have, in this case, it would be a Y45, and you could have a clean out here. You wouldn't ever do a 90 here. We always use 245s, like I said. Y clean out, and then you could clean it out here. For whatever reason, you can't have it up above the floor. If this is what you prefer to do, it's great. But I know in a lot of renos, there's not a lot of space to put a Y45 because it's big and bulky. So when we're doing renos, I've always just put clean outs up above. It's just easier. And actually, one of the main reason I do that is I keep my clean out inside the floor, and I drill my hole and I put my clean out in there, and then I leave it open. So when I go back downstairs, I can actually just work right into it, and I strap my clean out down to the floor. I always strap my clean outs down. The clean outs, again, are usually not very accessible and nobody gets at them, but I just use it. You could use a coupling there too. Like ideally your clean out's a bit higher above the baseboard, so you're not, and then you'd put a coupling here, so then you can actually glue into something there. Yeah.
So,
and then another thing with cleanouts that we haven't really got into yet is a lot of, like for us, there's maximum distances. So for like a one-way cleanout, I believe it's 50 feet you can go with a snake. And then after 50 feet, like if you're doing like, for us it doesn't matter because we're doing houses, you don't ever go that far without turning and putting in a cleanout. But if you're in like a commercial building and you're running hundreds of feet, every 50 feet or 25 feet or whatever, they want to see a clean out in there.
Right, yeah. So like, I know we're talking about these two clean outs here for accessibility. This clean out here would more than likely be covered inside of a wall, or it'd be like in a cabinet somewhere, or if they made a little box for it. But usually in our case, in the residential side, it's covered up in a wall. So if you are at all worried about this line here being backed up, let's say you got like two toilets hooked up in their shower, and everything's tight bends, and it kind of seems like there's going to be a problem here later. If you can, just put a clean out where it's going to be accessible later. So if the basement's undeveloped, or if this drops into a mechanical room, just put a clean out right here, and then a guy in the future has a spot to run a snake through and clean out that line if you think it's going to be a problem down the road. So
that's right. And a one-way clean out is actually technically better, but if it's backing up here, then you almost prefer to have the clean out there.
You want to clean it out as high as you can.
You want to clean it as high as you can.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough in that situation.
It's really tough, and it makes it really. It's not very easy for the service guys to come in there, and also when we're doing this kind of work in a house, installing cleanouts, we're always thinking about the next guy.
Absolutely,
what's going to make his job easier, right? And so it makes it that much more difficult when you know that the walls are all going to be drywalled. Not like these cleanouts aren't going to be accessible. For somebody to come in here to run their snake through and to clean the drains, they're going to have to cut drywall out and search for cleanouts.
Usually they just go right, if something's backing up, they just pull the toilet.
They'll go right from the toilet.
Go from the toilet. That's like kind of, and a cleanout is actually allowed to act as a toilet's allowed to act as a cleanout in residential, but I don't think it is in commercial for us.
Yeah.
And one thing we haven't stepped on yet, and we haven't really drawn it here, but for trap arms, because toilet has a maximum before you need to clean out, all trap arms have a maximum. So like an 1.5 inch and a 2-inch trap arm, like a sink or a shower, vanity, tub, whatever, maximum 135 degrees. So that's 3 45s. On the third 45, you need to have a clean out.
And this right here, trap arm, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
From here to here is the trap arm.
And then like a lot of times people get it confused because you're going this way and you go 45, that's 145, 2 45s, 3 45s, and then they put the clean out on. Well, technically you need to have the clean out here. So 1, 2, on the third 45, it has to be the clean out. Not on the fourth, on the third.
No, on the fourth, on the third. That was perfect.
Yeah,
so
I thought I turned that off.
That ends that.
Yeah. No, hold on. So then on a toilet, you can go 225 degrees, which is 4 45s. But the 90 coming out of the toilet, so when you're coming down,
so
draw it here,
got a line here. And then
if this is your toilet and you're coming down, this first 90 counts when you're going there. That counts as a 90, so it's pretty much 3 45s. Everything's always 3 45s.
Yeah.
We always pretty much on the third 45 even.
So
it's
it'd
been
be 1,
kind of
2, and then you'd have your clean out here.
Yeah.
And then 3.
You try not to use 3 45s. Like you try not to go that much because like the more turns you make, the more chance it's going to clog up. So when you're mapping out your drainage, do your best beforehand to use as little fittings as possible. I see a lot of guys just gluing in fittings, then it just like, turns into like this weird loop, and like you could have done it a different way. So it's like drainage is very important to map out before you just start putting it together, and that's what I find is the best way to do it.
All right, so then for cleanouts that are inside of walls or inside of ceilings, you can either tighten them depending on what they have. Sometimes they'll have like a rubber gasket, and you tighten them. Sometimes those rubber gaskets fly
Pinch
out.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they have the white ones. And
The white ones
like
are the
a
best. You can
Teflon.
actually tighten
Yeah,
those.
you can
ones,
tighten
yeah.
those. So I find if you have those rubber ones and they just keep popping out on you, and you're worried that you might end up with
Get
a
a
small
leak,
leak or
yeah.
a drip, throw some Teflon tape on there. I'll put on like 3-4 wraps.
I know a lot of guys use silicone.
Yeah,
They'll go through
silicone
and
as well.
silicone. They silicone all of their cleanouts.
Yep.
Doesn't matter what. They silicone them, they tighten them. That way if you can still, because some guys will glue them, then they're just shut forever.
Yeah.
But if you silicone it, you can at least get it off. It's going to be hard, but
Yeah.
you can at least get it off.
Yeah, and it's not going to leak.
And it won't leak. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the gasket and the silicone.
Yeah, that's where it doesn't hurt to, once you've done your drainage, to do a drain test
Yeah.
and to make sure you
Yeah,
have no
stack
leaks.
test is important
Stack
for
test,
sure.
very important, yeah. So moving on to the next, what do we have here, Karsten?
So this is going horizontal, vertical to horizontal. For sure, where we're from, we need to have these. And this is a common thing. Like if you're coming through like a set of joists, and then you want to drop down and run along a beam or something like that, and just run underneath the set of joists. So like the joists are running this way, and then you need to go this way, and you can't. And they're old style joists. They're like the engineered wood or whatever, 2x10s, and you can't drill through them. So you can run through the joist, down the beam, and then along the beam. But as soon as you go horizontal, vertical, back to horizontal, you need to have that clean out right here. So this is that situation. You're going horizontal, vertical, horizontal. And you're going to want to have a Y clean out here.
All right, so for the last one here we have is we're going to say that this trap arm is exceeding its maximum distance. So now we have to put a vent on the trap arm. Now, this is not code, but this is definitely a practice that we use. So let's say this is a 2-inch trap that's running over for a shower here. So we would run 2-inch up to here, and we would use a 2-inch line clean out here. And then I would put a 2x1.5 inch bushing or whatever, 1.25 inches. But here where we are, we have 1.5 inches, and this would just be your vent. So now this would be able to clean out this portion of the trap arm.
That's right, because a lot of times it's not that easy to get a snake through a trap and clean it like 20-30 feet.
Yeah.
And the reason that we like to use these is because this is technically flood level rim, let's say. Like this is your shower tub or whatever it is, and your flood level rim's up here. Well, this is still a drain. It's not actually, it's a vent. It's technically kind of like a wet vent. It's because if there was a flood, then you could actually clean a drain through here. Yeah, there's going to be water coming in there, but you could at least clean through there.
Right.
Or have it up here if accessibility is better kind of thing. But
Yeah.
anytime that something's below the floor, and like we try to make sure we pay attention to serviceability.
All right, so I believe that's all that we have for these here. Hey, Karsten, I don't think you have anything to add.
I would say that's as much as we can think of that we come up with. If you have any questions, or if you're a plumber yourself and you think we're missing something, or it's a different type of code, please let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to
We're
hear.
always looking to hear what other people have to say.
Yeah, or if you ran into any of these different scenarios here, and you're like, hey, you know what, I did something a little different, or you see something here that we could do better or change it, or you've seen something different in the past that somebody else has done, we'd love to hear some comments and little stories about what you guys have done.
Absolutely, and also if you're working on a reno or even a new house, and you're say you're a new plumber or a homeowner trying to do some plumbing, you have any questions, please don't hesitate to either leave us a comment, but sometimes it's better to access us through our Facebook group, The Plumbing Gurus, or Instagram at The Plumbing Gurus, and
you can send us some
love to hear from
pictures and we can go through them and see what's going on. And
we're always
help you out.
willing to help. So
Yeah.
Facebook's probably the best place if you want to send pictures and stuff like that. or you can again just leave a comment and we can help guide you along as best as we can.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you guys on the next one.